Hey, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel, and it is the May Readathon. I am so excited to have a weekend to hopefully read. I have a lot of it to do, and I'm kind of in an interesting predicament because I don't have any book buying credits currently. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, what I do is every month my goal is to read 4 physical books. For every book that I read over those 4, I get a book buying credit for. And right now, this month, I'm really trying to think because I think I've only read 2 physical books so far this month. Now, this readathon is coming very early, and I am not including Memorial Day in that readathon because I actually have to travel on Memorial Day. So it's still going to be a traditional 3-day readathon. I am filming this Thursday night. I will say that because I'm actually driving back to my home tomorrow, and I want to just start right away in the morning. I essentially just want to wake up, get in my car and go. So I don't want to have to film this on the day of. I might do a quick clip of, getting in my car, starting the timer and all of that, but I don't want to have to worry about that in the morning. And I am super excited to be getting so much driving time on the day of a readathon because hopefully I'll get to listen to a lot of audiobooks and start off the readathon super strong. I have not hit 30 hours yet on a readathon this year. This would be a fun one to hit 30 for. I don't know how possible it is, but I really want to try. I will say I am right now exhausted. I am so tired. I like traveling for work, but I've traveled like 4 days this week for work, and it just feels like a weird amount to have traveled. So I'm really looking forward to just decompressing this weekend. I'm hoping it can be a physical / ebook readathon focus, but if I am so tired, it just might not be possible. So let's start with the 2 audiobooks that I have first. First Lie Wins is the audiobook I'm currently listening to. I have about 55 minutes left at the time that I'm recording this. I might listen to a little bit today, which I'm not going to count towards the readathon, but I am actually really enjoying this. I was skeptical at the beginning. It's not a 5-star read because the beginning was just too all over the place for me. Maybe if I had read the description, it would have been better. I haven't actually read the description for this book. I've just been listening to it. I like the audiobook narrator, like everything surrounding that, but the beginning was just kind of rough for me, but I'm interested to see how these last 55 minutes are really going to go. It is a mystery novel. This girl has to show up. She gets these assignments. It gives me really spy vibes, but she's not necessarily working for the good guy. And now she's in this entanglement where all of her past jobs are kind of running into one another. I really do like it, and I'm surprised how much I like it considering it's a Reese book club pick. I don't always like Reese's book club picks, but this one I would actually say is probably going to be one of my favorites from the Reese's book club picks that I've read. The audiobook that I plan to start on my way back then after listening to this first hour of First Lie Wins because I have a 4-hour drive. So I'm really hopeful to listen to Bad People Summer. Really hope that's what it's called. I didn't check before starting this clip, but I really liked this cover. I also don't know what it's about. I probably also won't read the description before. So hooray, looking up for me. I might get to another audiobook potentially just because of how much drive time I have. And again, depending on how I'm feeling, but I actually don't have that next audiobook picked out at this time, so we'll just have to see. I have some books that I really need to finish before the end of this month, and one of those is The First Lost by J.D. Linton. This is the 3rd book, but it's a prequel book, but I wouldn't recommend reading it as a prequel. It's an interesting setup in the world that she has created. The first book is called The Last Storm, the second book is The Last Drag, and then I'm on her ARC team, so I'm reading The First Lost. This comes out at the end of the month, which means I need to finish reading it and get my review out to be a good ARC team member. I am on literally nobody else's ARC team, so I really need to do this. I have been reading this every day this week. I get on the treadmill and walk for about an hour. I don't read the entire time, but I try to read for a good portion of it. So I am 77% of the way through The First Lost, and I might read more of this tonight. We'll see how long my eyes can stay open after filming this clip and packing up, but I am really enjoying this. So in The Last Storm or The Last Drag, you follow Arya, and this is her parents' love story. So that's why it's a prequel, but if you read this first, I think you'd be really confused about the world that you're in. So that's just me. I have to remember when JD actually says to read this, but this might be the proper time to read it. So ideally I want to read this. And then this isn't the best cover, so I'll put it up here, but I also need to at least start Parts That Cut because it gets archived early June and I really want to read it. I would love love to start it on my Kindle going forward into the month of June at least. I would love to make some progress on it. It is an arc that I received. It is the second book to Threads That Bind, which I really, really liked. I want to go back into that world, but I just like ran out of time. It's been a busier work month, and also, again, this is kind of earlier in May. I still have all of next week technically for May reading after this readathon, so we're just kind of at a weird time. And then if I somehow manage to finish the first Lost and Hearts That Cut, I don't think I will, but then my last arc for the month of June is the Next Mrs. Parrish, which I am intrigued to read. This will be interesting. I do have a little bit longer with this, but I am definitely intrigued by it. And then I did bring all my physical books for this because I figured I would be filming Thursday night. I have not read any of these in a little bit, but I brought them all. Well, I shouldn't say I brought them all. There is one I left at home, but I'll explain why. So here are my 3. I left a 4th one at home because I'm not going to read that book outside of the house at all. That other book that I left at home is just too gosh darn sad, and I cannot be sad when I'm traveling alone. It just makes me too anxious. We have Pendragon, the 5th one, Blackwater. I don't have a lot left. I should have finished this, but part of me really wants to start the 6th book right after I finish this one, so I literally left myself like with a little bit of a cliffhanger moment. I really only have that much left. I left in the middle of a chapter because I was like, okay, I am gonna want to pick up the 6th book, but I made it a rule that I could only read 1 Pendragon book a month, so I'm purposefully holding this off. So I might just finish this readathon weekend. I might also finish it after the readathon, but I brought it with me just in case. Wasn't sure the exact vibes I was feeling. We have the Brothers Hawthorne, and now that I am going to be meeting Jennifer Lynn Barnes later this year, which I'm so excited about, I want to finish this. This will not take me very long at all. I think I am like 100-ish, maybe less than a little 100-ish away. I don't really know, but I've definitely put in a lot of progress on this book. Would absolutely love to finish this. I am enjoying it. It is the 4th book in the Inheritance Game series. You will be confused if you just like throw yourself into this. I would definitely recommend reading these specifically in order. And then this is an exciting development. This is the Stardust Grail. It is a physical arc of the Stardust Grail. I had it on my e-arc, but the author and I are mutuals on TikTok, and she reached out to me and was like, do you want the physical book? And I said, well, of course I want a physical book. I'm trying to have my own library. I understand if she didn't want to give it to me because I already had the e-arc, and she was like, no, you can have it. And I thought it was so cool, and it's signed by her, and I am really excited. I am a okay portion of the way in. I'm gonna say okay portion. I need to get this read. I need to get this read before the end of May because it comes out the first week of June. I don't think it'll be that bad to get through. I am enjoying this. I just have so many books started right now, and then I forgot about the first Lost, so I'm just kind of all over the place. So that's what I got for the readathon. In terms of what might take away from my reading time on Saturday, right now, I don't have anything unless I am sick. Literally right before filming this clip, I felt the little tickle in my throat. My eyes are extremely heavy. I have been sleeping really good at this hotel though, which is very nice. I don't usually do that. So I'm hoping if I sleep well enough, the sick will go away. It will be gone and I can just read all weekend. Again, I don't want to make this audiobook focused. If it needs to be, it will be. But Saturday, I'm just hoping I don't want to step foot off of our property. I might cut the grass, can listen to an audiobook during that or do other things, but I don't want to leave the house Saturday. Sunday, I have book club. I don't exactly know where book club is, and the book club book, it was not very good in my opinion, so it's gonna definitely be interesting to see how long we actually stay chatting about the book, because I feel like books that I either really like or really don't like, I always chat more about versus like the middle of the road books, and I think most people are like that. Being that it's the first book club meeting for this book club, I don't want to come off as a complete hater of books, obviously because I make bookish content, but the book and I just did not jive at all. And the book that I left at home that was too sad to read is also a book club book. It's been a very overwhelming book month for sad book club books, and that's why I think it has taken me a little bit longer to get through these books. Again, I finished 2 books this month. One was Home is Where the Bodies Are, and the other is The Berry Pickers, which is the not good book club book. So I'm really hoping to add to that stack because I have a lot of books I want to buy, and I need to read my physical books in order to get my credits. So my physical reading goal for this weekend at least is to get me to the point where any books I finish after the readathon will then be able to count towards book buying credits. So I need to finish 2 physical books. I feel like if I finish Pendragon, that's kind of cheating, but I would probably want to finish mostly the Stardust Grail and the first Lost so then I can really keep the momentum going. So we'll see how it goes. I am very excited to have already an exciting start to the readathon by being in the car tomorrow to just listen to an audiobook. I'm hoping that that goes really, really well. I also might have some content stuff to do this weekend, but I think if I time manage enough, I can really use Memorial Day for content creation and really keep this readathon really readathon focused and heavy. So we'll just have to see. Let's start tomorrow. It is bright and early, 5:48 a.m. on May 24th. I'm going to be starting my drive back. I have to check one thing at an old/new building. I don't know how to fully explain it. And then I get to drive back. I'm currently in Eastern time zone, by the way, and I'm moving to the Central time zone, so I gain an hour. Don't know if that's against readathon rules or not, but let's get started listening to First July Wins and then moving on to Bad Summer People. I better check that out. So let's get started with our readathon. Okay, I'm waiting to get my breakfast and I have listened to 54 minutes of audiobooks. I actually finished First July Wins, which was great timing on my part. I think I would give that book, like a 4.5. I just still think the beginning was really confusing, but I think it was really smart overall, especially near the end. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm going to start Bad Summer People. That's officially what the book is called. Have I looked at the description? No. I also currently have, I believe, like 3 hours and 45 minutes left of my drive, which I'm sure will increase with morning traffic. So we'll see how far I get in the audiobook. All right, I made it back safe. It is officially after work hours. I am 5 hours and 22 minutes into the readathon. I think that's the furthest I've gotten during like a working time period. So really grateful for the audiobooks there. I have listened to Bad Summer People the entire time of the like past 4-ish hours, because I got an hour in from First July Wins, and Bad Summer People is very interesting. I haven't read a book formatted like this in a while. There are so many different perspectives. You get to know this entire community, but what I think is interesting about the book is that in the prologue it opens with the murder of somebody, okay? I am over 4 hours into this book, and I am not any closer to figuring out who was murdered. There is like a child that's named. I have not met named child yet. Don't know when he's gonna come into play. So it's kind of interesting because the prologue I feel like has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in this book. Kind of funky, but I'm not necessarily against it. I don't think I like it as much as First July Wins yet, but it's definitely a book. That is for sure. So now for the evening, my goal is to try to get through the first Lost, because I've been reading this on the treadmill typically for an hour a day while I was traveling, and I am 79% of the way through, and I've been able to get about like 10 to 15% done in an hour, and it's pretty much 5 o'clock, and I would like to ideally read until 9. I want to get back on my regular sleeping schedule, so hopefully I can finish the first Lost today. And then this is the final book that I have not talked about, because this book is too sad for me to read outside of the house. I literally have to read it by my husband because I feel like every chapter there's just something devastating that happens. So I did not bring this one with me when I was traveling. So I want to finish this. This is our book club book. We are meeting on May 30th for the book club. I know I'll finish it before then. I don't have very much left to go. So I don't know if I'm also going to finish this tonight or if I'm going to finish it tomorrow morning, but finishing this is also very high on the priority list along with the first Lost. If I finish those 2 books, that'll put me at 4 physical books read, and then anything else I finish is going to go towards book buying credits, which I desperately need. Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club so far has been a very character-driven book, but like I said, every freaking chapter, there is no happy ending. It just gets worse and worse for these characters the entire time. I don't know what to think. I don't think it's as bad as The Berry Pickers, which is another book club book for like a separate book club, but I guess I wish I had a little more direction with this book. Just a little bit more, again, very character driven, but I like the characters. I'm invested in the characters. I just want them to have a freaking like break. I just need these characters to get a break. That's all I really need. And it's fun because I live in the Midwest, so I definitely know what a supper club is, definitely have been to one. So it's really fun fun to read about, but then it just devastates you by the end of every chapter. So I can only emotionally handle so much of this. And then if you've read the other J.D. Linton books, you know that this is going to be like tragic. I've not gotten to the tragic part yet. So I feel like now I'm going to read 2 sad books again. And I just need to stop reading these sadder books. I need a happy book in my life. So hopefully I'm going to get that happier book vibe with maybe the Stardust Grail, maybe something, I've no idea, but we'll just have to see. So let's get started on our physical book reading this evening. I do have to take care of the dogs and I have to eat, so I might listen to more of Bad Summer People, but my goal hopefully is to at least make headway into both The First Lost and Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club, at least to get somewhere in both of these, because that would make finishing the books tomorrow a lot easier. It is bright and early on day 2 of our readathon. I have been listening to Bad Summer People for quite a bit this morning, just while I had breakfast, while I was waking up. I am pretty far into Bad Summer People, or Bad People Summer. I still can't remember. That's really not good, but I feel like I'm trying to remember all of the storylines that are in the audiobook. I am less than 3 hours away from finishing it, so I'm fairly confident I'll be able to finish it today. I wanted to use today as like a rot day, pretty much, but I do have one chore at a minimum that I have to do today, and that is cutting the grass, because it is supposed to storm all day tomorrow. So that's not going to be possible. So I am still really excited to have the majority of the day to read. My wonderful husband is going to go grocery shopping for us, so I don't have to worry about that. And I am traveling again come Monday, so I'm really excited just to hopefully have an overall relaxing readathon and get a lot done. For Bad Summer People, again, I think it's just such a ridiculous concept for a book in like a good way to me, with like the drama of the town. It really reads TV show to me. I feel like this could really be adapted to a television show very well. And with less than 3 hours left to the book, I think we're finally getting to who was murdered or who died or whatever happens. So just be aware of that. The prologue starts. We don't actually come back to the prologue until very, very close to the end of the book. So that's going to be really interesting. That either to me says that we're going to know who killed who or how somebody died like pretty quick. There won't be like a long investigation. I guess the investigation for this book has been the entire backstory of it. An interesting concept for how the book is going. I haven't really read something like that before. So again, not disliking it, but also not my favorite. I did scroll through Libby while I was listening to the audiobook this morning, and I found my next audiobook, which is going to be Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I haven't actually read a Tessa Bailey book yet, so I'm very intrigued to start this audiobook. Again, either today or tomorrow I'm going to start the audiobook. I don't exactly know when, but at some point I will. And then, as you can see next to me, I have all of my physical books ready to go to sit here for a few hours and try to get through as many as I can. Last night I did finish The First Lost, and I feel like it was pretty good. I think I still like The Last Drag better, which was the second book, but that kind of makes sense because again, this is a prequel third book type deal. So definitely think that's interesting to say the least. But now we are going to move on to Heart That Cut, which I definitely want to try to get a good ways into this. I think this archives like June 6th or something like that. So I would like to get an okay portion through it just during the readathon in general. Maybe not necessarily today, because I do want to actually finish some books today. The first book I want to finish is Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club. Now I did read some of this yesterday, but then my eyes were closing, I think because I was just so physically tired from traveling. So I don't have that much left. So I'm on page 271, and I think this book is like 335. So I have about 60 pages left. I would imagine I could finish this in like less than an hour, just based off of the speed that I've been reading the book in general. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying they need breaks still. They just need breaks. 2 of the people in my book club have already finished it and have briefly shared their thoughts. I think one of them cried and one of them said the book destroyed her. So you could see the vibes that we're getting in this book. So almost done. I am excited to have this hopefully be the 4th physical book that I finish, and then we start to rack up some book buying credits. Then I really want to get through The Brothers Hawthorne. This does go by quick once I sit down and read it. I feel like Jennifer Lynn Barnes always has a very quick writing style. I haven't read any of it since I last showed you, but that's how much I have left. So I'm going to be curious to see if I can get like both of these physical books done today. And then if I finish both of these physical books, I would probably just focus on my arcs, which are Hearts That Cut and the Stardust Grail. I would be very hopeful to finish those 2 physical books and get to some of my arcs today. I don't fully know how I want to cycle around each of them. If I just finish the physical books that I'm already part of the way through and then get to the arcs. Again, I haven't started Hearts That Cut. Maybe I save that just for the afternoon. I haven't really decided what I want to do. I know I will be taking a break at 10 a.m. from physical books because I'm like really obsessed with Monopoly Go right now. I don't spend any money on it. I don't think I'm very good at it, but I just have fun playing it. And you get these like constant little events. That's how they get you to play Monopoly Go. And I know one of the events restarts at 10 a.m. my time. And I saved some dice intentionally to play at 10 a.m. And so I'm going to play Monopoly Go. I can listen to an audiobook while playing Monopoly Go. So I might see how much I can read. I'm looking at the clock. It's about 7:35 right now. So I might just see how much I can read until 10, and then maybe I'll cut the grass. But it rained last night and cutting the wet grass won't be a fun task, so I might need to wait a little bit until the afternoon when it dries out a little bit more. I don't really know yet, but I feel like 10 a.m. will be break time. So in about 2 hours and we'll say 40-ish minutes probably by the time I'm done yapping and I actually start reading. And then I am currently at 10 hours for this readathon. It is so early in the day. It is very early in the day. I haven't hit 30 yet for a readathon this year. Would really, really love to. Here is the only caveat, is because I am traveling, I need to have enough content made. And so I might have to spend some time just making content. I don't think I need to necessarily edit anything, but still making content takes away hours from reading. So I really have to balance. I'm not going to be as worried about it today. I think I'm really just going to see how much I can actually read today. I would love to feasibly get to 20 hours today. That would mean reading from around, I'm just going to round it up. If I started reading at 8 a.m., which we already know I'm going to start reading earlier than that, if I read from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., that would get me to 20 hours, which would be very exciting because I'm not going to go to sleep probably for another 2 more hours. So I feel like we're starting off pretty strong. So let's get into our next stretch of reading, and maybe I'll check in with you after I play my Monopoly Go. You'll have to let me know if you play that game as well. I feel like I don't have like as many hobbies outside of reading, but I just really like having that little break. But let's start with Saturday night at the Lakeside Supper Club and hopefully get to the Brothers Hawthorne before I play Monopoly Go. Okay, it is almost 11 o'clock. I've played my Monopoly Go, talked to my husband a little bit, and we are at 12 hours and 38 minutes. So the possibility of hitting 20 hours today is still viable, but it leaves me with a little bit less leftover time, I guess you could say, because now I have, like 7.5 hours. So that means if I didn't stop starting at 11 o'clock, then it would be about 6:30. So did lose a little bit of time because of my own yapping and social media posting, but overall still really proud of this number. I have finished my 4th physical book of the month now with Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club. This almost got me. I did almost cry. I didn't, but I think if I was a little bit more emotional, maybe. I feel like if I had kept reading this at the same time as the Berry Pickers, something would have just like broken in me. Not the worst book club book that this group has chosen. We do it randomly, so it's not like, anybody really personally chooses the books, but it's definitely not my favorite either. But I can see how a lot of people in the book club will like this. But again, I just needed a little more plot. The plot was kind of all over the place, especially based off the description. You really only get how like her mom is holed up in a church in the description, and how this man who was the heir to like chain restaurants, his life is changing, which again, it's just kind of like all over the place. But again, I don't think it's the worst book. What I would rate this, I don't know, maybe like a 3 to a 3.5, which I feel like is fairly decent. I did not not finish The Brothers Hawthorne yet. I'm getting closer, as you can see, made a decent dent in this. Finishing Saturday Night Lakeside Supper Club took longer than I thought. And then for The Brothers Hawthorne, it's interesting. I just don't know how it falls in, I guess, with the rest of the series. Like, the first 3 books to me made sense in terms of how they eventually pandered out. This almost feels like 2 novellas crammed into 1 book. So it'll be interesting with the 5th book coming out this year. And I think there is another book with extra stories also that has either come out or is coming out, how they all kind of like tie in together, or if this is even going to tie into the next book. And then I did read the prologue in the first chapter of Hearts That Cut. I definitely forgot like a major plot point when I was reading it, so I'm really glad that kind of a recap is at the beginning of this book, because it's definitely been a while, but I also recognized a lot, which I was really proud of. So this arc is showing me not like the minutes when the chapter's over, because the chapters are kind of funky. The format is just a little funky since it's obviously an advanced reader copy, and some of those do turn out funky. But right now it's telling me I have like 7 hours left before the end of this book, which honestly doesn't seem too bad, because I don't need to get it done during this readathon. I would love to, but with how much time there is left right now, this doesn't make me feel, you know, like completely hopeless. So definitely will be interesting to see where it goes. I'm already pulled in to this world. I'm very excited to see where this is going to go. I feel like this is just going to be a duology unless something major happens in this book, but we'll see. And then I haven't touched my Pendragon book or the Stardust Grail. Again, I think those are going to be more in the afternoon, if I even pick up the Pendragon one. I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to pick it up, or if I want to pick it up a little closer to the end of the month, then I have an excuse to pick up the 6th book right away. I haven't fully decided yet, but I feel like I'm making pretty good progress on the books that I have. I know that I have a book club meeting tomorrow, so really hoping to finish a physical book today. Should be able to finish The Brothers Hawthorne so that I'm able to buy that book club book, and then I would love to finish a second physical book to then buy another book for my second book club, which I know gets like a little confusing. So we're gonna just see how many more I can get through. I also might throw some other books just into the mix and kind of start my June TBR early, or I might flip between Hearts That Cut, the Stardust Grail, and also the next Mrs. Parrish. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of the weekend, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go cut the grass, meaning I'm going to continue to listen to Bad Summer People, which, yeah, I have 2 hours and 20 minutes left. We have kind of who's been, again, murdered. I don't really know. I don't know what happened to this person in the book, and I feel like I know, but I feel like it's too obvious. We're still getting a ton of perspectives. It'll be interesting to see if everything actually does wrap up at the end or not. I don't know. A little skeptical there, but I am looking forward to finishing that and then starting, you know, a romance book, because I don't actually have a romance book in my lineup anymore. So, because the Saturday Night Lakeside Supper Club kind of had some romance in it, like in a more mature way, and so I'm excited to get to a new romance book to kind of like switch up my lineup a little bit. I have 2 other physical romance books that I want to read in June, but maybe I'll start them during this readathon. I don't know. I think I'm getting a little overly ambitious. So let's go cut this grass and see what the afternoon has for us. It is day 3 of our May Readathon. Super exciting news. I'm already at 21 hours going into day 3. I think this is the furthest into a day 3, like the earliest into a day 3 that I've hit this number, which is very exciting. It is still pretty early. It is about 6:25 in the morning, so if I misspeak, that's why. We just always get up very, very early. I also did go golfing yesterday with my husband after cutting the grass, so I really last night hit 20 hours, and then I've already listened to another hour of my audiobook this morning. Speaking of audiobooks, I did finish Bad Summer People, and yeah, the pacing was interesting. It was something. I don't think it was like the worst book I've read all year. It definitely did pique my interest. I definitely just think it's more of like a silly book. You can't take the book seriously if you read it. So I don't know, it's gonna be somewhere between like I think maybe a 3.5 is kind of how I feel about it. So, because I did enjoy it overall. It was a little cringy at points, but I don't think it was anything like too terrible. And then for whatever reason, so I thought I had like an hour and a half left of the book, and I listened to like 45 minutes of it, and then all of a sudden it says like keep listening for an excerpt from this book, and which was good because when the chapter ended, the final chapter, I was like, I don't know how much farther this book is actually gonna go, so it makes sense that there was so much time devoted to an excerpt of another book. So I did finish that earlier than I anticipated, which means I got to start Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I'm about 2.5 hours into it. I also think this is a book that you just can't take very seriously. So we have Hallie, who is a local shop owner in Napa Valley, I believe, for flowers. And she is, grieving the loss of her grandmother. She's not very happy that a winery named Uncork popped up right next to the winery Corked that her grandmother used to go to. But what's more interesting is that Jordan Voss, the person who almost gave Hallie her first kiss, is back in town. And so now she's trying to, understand why Jordan's back in town, try to reconnect with him in a sense. So again, very not super serious premise, which is honestly what I feel like I need right now. I don't realistically think with the hours left in the day, unless I solely focus on the audiobook, that I'll finish it today. But I feel like I will get far enough where I have to choose another audiobook because I actually have a 4-hour drive tomorrow. I am in a pretty good place audiobook wise. I've technically finished 2 audiobooks this readathon, First Lie Wins and then Bad Summer People, so feeling pretty good there. Speaking of what else I finished during the readathon, I did finish The Brothers Hawthorne. I think this is interesting because you end this book, which is book 4, at the same place you end book 3 in the Inheritance game series. They were kind of these parallel timelines-ish to a sense. I know in the Inheritance games there's a 9-month period or some type of sabbatical period near the end of that 3rd book, The Final Gambit, and that is what is covered in this. So definitely think that's very interesting. So in terms of rating, again, this felt like 2 different novellas to me. I don't know. I don't know if this is a 4-star book yet for me. I feel like it's between a 3.5 and a 4-star. It was obviously very fast paced. I think just switching between the storylines was just a bit too jarring for me. I almost would have preferred 2 separate novellas, but that's just me. Which means by finishing this book, we have our first book buying credit, which is going to have to go to a book club book, which is fine. I love being in book clubs. I love talking about books, clearly, but I do want to get more book buying credits because June is my biggest month for pre-orders. So I would really like to get another one at least during this video. And that's where we get to what I think my plan for the morning is going to be, which is reading the Stardust Grail. I am quite a ways through it, which is good. I've made really good progress. I think I'm over halfway through it. I don't actually know how many pages it is, but I feel like I'm over halfway through it, and I want to finish at least this book today. That's the final book that I want to finish. I don't think, like I said, I don't think I'll get through another audiobook. I don't think I'll get through another physical book, but I'll make pretty good headway into physical books. And if I finish this and then I finish my Pendragon book at some point this week, then I will have 3 book buying credits. I already know what I'm going to use all the credits for, unfortunately, but that's okay. So with the Stardust Grail, I am really enjoying it. I really like Yume Kitatsu's writing. I like the world that she develops. I'm interested to see where the rest of the book is going to go from this halfway point. I loved her book, The Deep Sky, last year. I'm super excited to have an arc of this. This comes out the first week of June, so if I could finish it today, that would be absolutely fantastic. I did start Hearts That Cut, and I am really wanting to dig back into this book too. I want to read it alongside the Stardust Grail because of how much I'm liking it. However, I know I can't realistically do that because then I probably wouldn't finish the Stardust Grail, but I can probably pick this up, I'm guessing, in the afternoon. I'm currently 11% into Hearts That Cut, which I feel like is a fairly decent amount to read, and I am loving where the story's going. I think there have already been twists. We're already learning more about the world. We kind of see where they're going. I'm super excited to keep reading. Again, if you haven't read Threads That Bind, you definitely need to read it before reading Hearts That Cut, but I feel like the way that we've been revisiting the first book has been helpful. I don't think it's been too overwhelming. I don't think it's too repetitive. I am really excited. Maybe somebody might feel that way if they just read Threads That Bind and then picked up Hearts That Cut right after, but I feel like it's been super helpful considering how long ago I read Threads That Bind. And also I listened to Threads That Bind, but now I'm reading Hearts That Cut, and I feel like I'm having just as enjoyable of an experience. And then I'm also 9% into The Next Mrs. Parrish, which is, I think, what I wasn't really fully expecting to do, but I wanted to start cycling through those books, so I am happy to have this book to a point. I feel like I need to at least reread the last chapter of The Last Mrs. Parrish. I almost wish the last chapter of The Last Mrs. Parrish was in this book because I feel like the way it started off, I was I don't remember that that's how the book ended. I remember what I think the ending of The Last Mrs. Parrish was, and this just kind of goes off the rails a bit. I don't know, it's very interesting. Not what I was expecting at all. I'm curious to see where this goes. I feel like I kind of know where it's going just based off the first 3 chapters already, at least to a point. Did I read the description? No. So probably should have done that. But our main focus, especially this morning, I'm looking at the time, is going to be the Stardust Grail. There are about 5 hours and 20 minutes until noon, which I think at noon I am going to switch to an audiobook. I'm going to switch to an audiobook a little bit before that because of Monopoly Go, but for the majority of the morning, I'm going to be reading the Stardust Grail until I finish it and then switch to probably Hearts That Cut just so I can get a little further into it or flip between the 2 books. And then at 1 o'clock today, I have a virtual book club meeting, which is exciting. And I definitely want to hit 30 hours, but I don't know how far beyond 30 I want to go, especially because I'm traveling the majority of this week. I have content to get ready, this video to edit, things like that. There are still activities with content prep that I can kind of do while listening to an audiobook, but like writing reviews, filming videos, I can't read during that part. Researching stuff for my 365 days YouTube short series, which I feel like has been so consistent and doing pretty well, surprisingly. I wasn't expecting that really. And so I want to obviously keep it going because I have the opportunity to keep it going. So I have to do like a little bit of planning around that. And that whenever I read something for like research, I can't listen to a book at the same time. I can't read 2 things at once. That's not how my brain works. I know some people can listen to music and read. I can't. That's such a talent that I wish I could do. I feel like I'd be more productive, but not something for me. So let's get into the Stardust Grail, see how much time that takes. Obviously, we're going to switch to an ebook at some point. We're going to switch to the audiobook at some point. So we'll see how the rest of this morning goes, but I'll definitely do another check-in like before the end of the day instead of yesterday where I just like dropped off on a check-in. I feel like I have to do more check-ins today. So let's get into the Stardust Grail. We are midway through day 3 of the readathon. I'm about to hop on the treadmill to ideally edit this video and continue listening to Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I think earlier I called the main character Jordan. His name is Julian, like King Julian from Madagascar, so that's how I'm gonna remember it. Again, I think the premise is just something silly, fun, lighthearted. I feel like I'm gonna switch to that in my physical books going into the month of June, so I'll have to find something else via audiobook that's a little different. I think I only have like 6.5 hours of the audiobook left now. Again, don't think I'm going to finish it today, realistically, but I am definitely going to finish it tomorrow when I travel for work, so I'll definitely have to choose something new on Libby, so I'll probably scroll on Libby for a little bit today while also still listening to the audiobook. In regards to the physical book, I don't have it downstairs with me right now, but I did finish the Stardust Grail. I enjoyed it. I think it's going to be like a 4.5 out of 5 stars only because, and this is like a me problem, I had problems like picturing some of the scenes in my head, and I really just wish I had like a movie to watch after it or just some visuals. I can maybe try to Google some, but because the book isn't out yet, I don't know how much fan art is out there right now. So I definitely think that that was part of my own personal problem, but it did obviously then affect the enjoyability of the book. So 4.5 out of 5 stars, which I think is still fantastic. I would still recommend it to anybody that likes sci-fi, especially when it comes out in June. So I am still reading Hearts That Cut and The Next Mrs. Parrish. I am over 10% of the way done with both of those now, so I've made a little bit of progress on both. My plan is to edit this video on the treadmill, and then if I still feel like walking, because I don't know exactly how long editing is going to take me initially, I will read while I'm on my treadmill. I have kind of a funny setup for my Kindle. If I do get to that point, I can probably take a picture and show you what it looks like, but I use like old puzzles to prop up my Kindle so that like I don't feel like I'm looking down like that the whole time while I'm walking. So I definitely have space to do that. Our book club that was going to meet today is not meeting today because one of the girls is on vacation. So I plan to try to see when we're gonna meet. She said that either Thursday or Friday night later this week would work. Thursday I have my first book club, so I'm only free Friday. We'll have to see if there's a time and place for all of us to meet, but that does kind of give me an hour back in the day, which I wasn't fully expecting. So I am definitely excited to say that I am fairly confident I'm going to be able to hit 30 hours this readathon, because I'm already at 26 hours and 34 minutes. So just 3.5 more hours to go. Can definitely do that at that time. I don't know how far over 30 I would go, but I am anxious to see. I think my plan is to hit 30 hours and then do some other stuff and then see if I want to read later tonight. So I feel very proud of how much I've read. I'm happy to have one book buying credit in my corner. Once I finish the Pendragon book, which again I have like 20 pages of, I'll be able to get a second book buying credit, and then hopefully during the rest of this week post readathon, when I am traveling for work every single day, I'm still able to hopefully get another book buying credit to allow me to just get one book that I really want in June. I think more than any of the other ones in June that I want. So that's really exciting. And I think I actually might have calculated my book buying credits wrong. So if I get time to type out what books I have to review, what videos I have to film, I might realize that I've read more than I'm letting on. But until I sit down and do that, I won't be able to. And I can't do that while listening to an audiobook or I will get distracted. So let's go see where the afternoon takes us with this readathon. I'm super excited to hit 30 for the first time this year, and I hope I get to another time this year, but we'll just have to see. This will be my final update for day 3 of the readathon. It got a little chaotic. I was doing really well editing the video, listening to Sincerely Yours, which I'm liking to a point. It's definitely not like one of my favorite romances ever, but I'm not like fully against it, I guess. I'm a little annoyed with the main characters, but you know, not every single main character you're gonna like or their actions you're gonna like. But again, I don't think it's necessarily bad. I'm still interested to kind of see where it goes, mainly also for like the subplot of the book, because obviously you have the romance, but then we have folks that are just really passionate about their local businesses, and it's just an interesting storyline there, and also the grandmother grief that the main female character is going through. So still interested there. And then as I was going to switch to reading my Kindle, we got issued a tornado warning. And I don't think I've ever shared this before. I have a severe fear of storms, tornadoes, all of that. Been working on it for years, and it was actually the first tornado warning, I think, in our house. We've lived here for 3 years, where I heard the sirens, because I feel like we've been under tornado warnings before, but like I haven't heard the sirens in my own house besides on like the test days. So we got a little derailed. Oopsie daisy. I'm still determined to hit 30 hours. We're at 28 hours and 47 minutes, so about an hour and a half. My plan is that I am going to record some book reviews because I feel awake enough. I know I have to travel. I got like bits and pieces of content together. I have like 7 videos on TikTok that I can post, but if I post one of those with like a trending sound and then one of a book review, that's usually how I like to do it. So I want to at least record some book reviews, especially because I have the Housemaid's Secret that is coming out next week. I have The First Lost, the arc that I've read, coming out this week. So I definitely want to get those 2 done at a minimum. And then if I feel like doing more book reviews after that, may as well stack up. I'm going to be traveling for a few days, so I want to make sure I have enough reviews while I'm gone. And I do have time in the morning to film. That's kind of my plan right when I get up, is to film for about 2 hours across like all platforms. So that's kind of my plan. And then right at 7:45, I'm going to stop. I'm going to probably continue to listen to Sincerely Yours simply while I put away my laundry. And then I'm going to switch back to the Kindle. I think I'm going to pick up Hearts That Cut and just read that for the rest of the night is my guess. So we'll see. Getting to 30 for sure gonna do. I'm curious to see how far over 30 we'll get, but overall I feel like this readathon has been successful. Let's wrap it up with Anna in the future to talk about everything that was read. For the first time this year, we hit 30 hours for the readathon, 30 hours and 7 minutes. I feel like the tornado warning really threw me off yesterday, so still glad I was able to hit this number. Let's wrap up everything that was read during the readathon. Starting with audiobooks, I did finish up First Lie Wins, and I would rate this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to the entirety of Bad Summer People. I am giving this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then I still have about 3.5 hours left of Secretly Yours. This is what I listened to for quite a bit last night, just to be able to walk around the house, calm myself down. So I am hopefully going to finish that this week. Not 100% sure what I would rate it yet. Definitely not a 5-star. Don't even think a 4.5 star. I think the most the book could get right now is a 4-star, but we'll have to see once I finish it how I'm feeling about it. Then we have the 3 ebooks that I was lucky enough to be able to get some way into / finish. The first ebook book that I finished was The First Lost, which I'm giving a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I have already recorded my review, which is great, but now I actually have to type it. The next book that I started that I am 20% of the way through is Hearts That Cut. I am thoroughly enjoying it. I can't wait to see where it goes. I feel like it's going to be a quick read, but we'll just have to see what happens along the way. And then lastly, a book that I'm also 20% into is The Next Mrs. Parrish, which again, I feel like you should read The Last Mrs. Parrish fairly closely to The Next Mrs. Parrish to fully understand like what's going on, because I feel like I'm still confused even 20% in like of what is happening in terms of the perspectives that we're getting. And then 3 seems to be our number because I have the 3 physical books that I was able to finish. First, we had Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club. I'm right around a 3.5 on this, but after I talk to folks in book club, that's when I usually get my reviews done for this. Unless I'm really certain on a review, I feel like book club doesn't really affect me too much when I'm super certain. But if I'm kind of on the fence with the rating, I usually wait until I talk to some other people about it. The Brothers Hawthorne, I feel like I would give like a 3.5 to a 4 star. I feel like I haven't fully decided yet. Again, they just felt like 2 separate stories. I didn't like where the breaks were, but I was interested in both, and I'm curious to see what little Easter eggs in this were planted that we'll see again in the 5th book. And then The Stardust Girl, I would give a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but the half star is mainly just because of how I am as a reader. I am somebody that needs to see the pictures in my head. I need a movie playing in my head while I am reading, and there were just some parts of this book that I couldn't do that with. I think mainly for my lack of imagination, or I wasn't fully understanding the descriptions, so that's the only reason this is a half star off. I don't read a ton of sci-fi, I feel like, for that reason, because I need a movie in my head, and so I feel like that's a skill that I can grow over time, but I just don't have that skill right now. So with 30 hours, we were able to get through 2 audiobooks, 3 physical books, and 1 ebook, along with starting an audiobook and 2 ebooks. I'm very proud of myself. June will be an interesting month because I feel like it's going to be just as busy as May, except I want to buy more books. And right now, I think I only have like 3 book buying credits, which I'm very proud of to have 3, but I already know I use 2 for book club books, and then I just have 1. Unless it's my book club book that's chosen, I only put recommendations for book club books like for books that I have on my shelf. I might try to finagle my way to do that for the second book club too, is like, hey, I can suggest these 2 books I think would be good for us, and then they just happen to be books on my shelves that I haven't read yet because I have plenty, so that might be a way for me to save some book buying credits. I am going to take you with me for work next week, so we'll get to compare a really big readathon weekend with a really busy work week, and then there'll be some other little fun videos that I have planned for this month, and then some bookish trips that I'll be taking. So definitely stick around, and I will see you in the next one.